Hari Om. Today we will proceed from chapter 18, verse number 14 of the Bhagavad Geeta. In the previous verse, number 13, the Lord had mentioned that to accomplish or to carry out all actions, there are 5 factors involved. So from today's verse, number 14, he will explain what are the 5 factors which are the cause of all our actions. So the 5 factors mentioned here in verse number 14, the first one the Lord mentions is adhisthanam, which means this gross physical body, which is also known in the Upanishads as the Annamaya Kosha, which consists of skin, flesh, bones. So this gross physical body is the adhisthanam. Next, the Lord says the vividhaha, which means various kinds of prathak, distinct, chesta, movements. So there are various types of movements, and this refers to the functions of the 5 pranahas, which are the physiological functions that support the functioning of this gross body. And what are they? What are the various movements of this body? One is prana, the incoming breath; apana, the outgoing breath; samana, the digestive system; vyana, circulation of blood, etc.; udana, expelling of waste products from the body. And these are collectively known as the 5 what we call the 5 pranas that support the functioning of this body. And in the Upanishads, this section or the 5 factors here, 5 pranas, are known as the pranamaya kosha. So they are the subtle forces that support this gross body. Next, the Lord says is karta. Karta, translated here directly, is the agent. So who is this agent? It is the ahamkar or the ego that considers I am the doer of all actions. This is the false I. And the karta also includes the mind, the intellect, etc. So, however, there's another word inserted here, tatha karta, which indicates that this is the false identification as the doer. Next is karanam, organs, which the Lord says are prathakvidam. They are of different kinds. So this refers to the equipment needed to carry out all actions, and these are the 5 organs of perception and the 5 organs of action also, what is known as jnana indriyas and karma indriyas. And finally, there is a 5th factor, which the Lord mentions here as Daivam, the divine, Atra, here, as the Panchamam, which is the 5th factor in the group of all these causes of action. The 5th factor is mentioned as, is referred to as the presiding deity of each organ. So there is a deity in charge of each organ, and without the blessings of the deity, that particular organ cannot function. In the presiding deity of hearing, there is a deity; of touch, there is a deity; for vision, there is a deity. And these are the various deities which are mentioned in the Upanishads also. Also, they are presiding deities for speech, for hands, for feet, etc. So, the presiding deity for ego is Rudra. Mind and intellect is Moon and Brihaspati. So, all these presiding deities of every part of the human organ is mentioned in various Puranas. So the 5th factor that governs all our action are the various presiding deities which bless the various organs in the gross and subtle body to function. If the particular organ does not function, it means the grace of that particular deity is not there due to past karmas. So these are the 5 causes of all action as explained in verse 14. So in verse 15, the Lord proceeds on to explain that a naraha, a person, karma, who performs, who acts or does action, prarabhate means performs, nara karma prarabhate, a person who performs all types of actions, whether secular actions or spiritual actions, the Lord says he has to use sharira, he has to use the physical body. Van means the organ of speech, manaha, the mind, and these 3, that means the body, the mind, and the speech, are the 3 equipments that are needed for any activity to take place. So the Lord says, whatever the action performed by the body, by the mind, by the speech, it will fall under 2 categories. 2 types of actions can be performed by any human being using the body, the mind, and the speech. The Lord says these are yat, which are either nyayam, which means righteous actions, proper actions, dharmic actions, as prescribed by the scriptures, va, or viparitam. Viparitam means unrighteous, adharmic actions which are prohibited by the scriptures. So a human being has the free will, has the freedom to use his body, his mind, his powers of speech, and the choice is either you use them to perform nyayam, righteous actions, or viparitam, which are unrighteous actions. And the Lord says, pashya of it, meaning whatever actions you do, whether they are righteous or unrighteous, dharmic or adharmic, the Lord says, ete panchaha, ete, these panchaha, the 5 factors which were mentioned in verse number 14, hetava, are the cause of all these actions. So beyond these 5 factors, there is no other cause of action. So whether we perform righteous or unrighteous actions with the body, the mind, the speech, behind that there are 5 factors mentioned in verse 14 which are the cause of all our actions. Now what is the important point to note from this? Atma, or the consciousness which is in the body, is not among the 5 factors which are the cause of all our actions. So Atma does not instigate, neither does it perform any actions. And the function of the Atma in the body is to enliven the body to function. Just like electricity in the bulb cannot be illumined without electricity. But the color of the light which is given by the bulb is not determined by the electricity. So what is the aim of the spiritual seeker is to understand that since I am a combination of all these factors, which is my reality? Am I the eternal consciousness in this body, or am I the perishable body? So this is the most important thing for us to know. Now in verse number 16, in the past 2 verses, Krishna has explained that Atma is the non-doer and does not cause any action. The cause of all action are the 5 factors as outlined in chapter 18 verse 14. Now the Lord wishes to explain in this verse 16 those people who understand things differently. So in verse 16 he says, Evam sati, this being so, as explained by the Lord, tatra, with regard to the fact that all actions, dharmic or adharmic, performed by the mind, speech, body, these are the 5 causes. The Lord says, having said so, yaha pashyati, the one who sees, the one, here the word pashyati does not mean using the physical eye to see, but to understand with the discriminative intellect. So one should take this knowledge, analyze our actions and understand what is the cause of actions, who is the doer, who is the non-doer. So what do these people, what Lord wants to point out in this verse is there are people who don't understand this, who don't, what we call, use their intellectual faculty to understand this. So what do these people wrongly conclude? They wrongly conclude that Atmanam, the self, which is residing in the body, this effulgent supreme bliss, tu verily Kevalam, the absolute, the unattached, the non-doer, as the Kartaram. They wrongly conclude that all the scriptures say the self is the weakness and the non-doer, but these ignorant people wrongly conclude that it is the self which is the cause or the doer of all actions. So the Lord says in this verse, Saha, he who wrongly concludes the self to be the doer, na pashyati, does not see, meaning does not comprehend the real truth. So here the word pashyati does not mean physically seeing, but because of ignorance, this person doesn't understand the difference between the doer and the non-doer. Who is doing the action? Who is the weakness of the action? So the Lord says such kind of people, they are akrita buddhitwan. Because of their buddhi, imperfection of intellect, or ignorant intellect, or non-purified intellect, these people don't use the intellect which has been gifted to them to learn from the scriptures, to learn from the Guru what is right, what is wrong. And therefore the Lord says, due to his lack of scriptural understanding, such a person has a durmati. Durmati means a polluted, deluded intellect. And what is this delusion? Instead of claiming Aham Atma Asmi, I am the weakness, I am the consciousness, I am the non-doer, he claims I am the doer, I am the Karta, Aham Karta. And when this person accepts himself as the Karta, he also becomes the Bhokta, which means he receives all the results of his actions. As a Karta and as a Bhokta, he goes through repeated cycles of birth and deaths to reap punyam and papam. Therefore, the only way to escape from this state of ignorance means one has to gain this knowledge of who is the doer, who is the non-doer from a qualified guru, and through the process of Sravanam, Mananam, Nitidhyasanam, come to realize that I am the soul, the weakness, the consciousness, the non-doer in this body. So, this is the most important thing for us to understand, that we have to use our intellectual capacity to read the scriptures and to understand the difference between who is the doer and who is the non-doer. So now in verse number 17, so verse number 16, the Lord spoke about those who don't use their intellect. Now in verse number 17, he talks about those who have committed themselves to this part of scriptural knowledge consisting of Shravanam, Mananam and Nitidhyasanam. They have received the knowledge from the Guru, they have contemplated on this truth and they accept it as the highest truth and they put it into practice in daily life. So they ever consider themselves as the witness, consciousness, non-doer. So the Lord says, Yasya, meaning the one who, this wise one, meaning the one who is endowed with spiritual knowledge, he knows the difference between the temporary and the permanent, the doer and the non-doer. The Lord says, whose bhavaha, innate nature, na aham krita. Na aham krita means he does not identify with the ego. He understands it is the body performing, the mind performing, the speech performing the actions, but he is the witness. So this body, mind, speech identification with the body, mind, speech is what is known as ahamkar or ego. So we must understand ego does not mean in this context arrogance, but ego here means identification with body, mind, intellect, and the notion that I am the doer. So this person is devoid of that notion, and he claims aham atma asmi, I am the witness consciousness in this body. The Lord says, yasya, whose buddhi, the intellect, na lipyate, is not tainted. His intellect is pure. His intellect is not tainted by what? His intellect has risen beyond the nature of sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic gunas. In chapter 14, the Lord identified such a person as a gunatit, one who has transcended the three gunas, one who does not have the notion, I have done this, I have done that, because of me only this has succeeded. So this person he always considers himself a karta, ever an instrument in the hands of the Lord, and whatever experiences in the form of karma phalam, anything comes, he is not affected also. So the Lord says, saha, such a person, api, even hatwa, even killing, imam, these lokan, these creatures, meaning anybody who kills the soldiers on the opposite side, na hanti, in reality he does not kill. He is not the one, he meaning the soul, the consciousness, anybody identifying with the higher I, the bigger I, the Atma is never the killer, and na nibadyate, therefore does not become bound. He does not incur any papa. Now, we have to understand why is Krishna using the terminology of killing here, because he is speaking to Arjuna on the battlefield, and Arjuna's duty here on the battlefield is to fight this war, and by fighting this war, he has to definitely kill the opposing factors. But to us, what does it mean? Our duty is not to kill people. Our duty is to perform our duty to family, to society, to God, etc. So, what is the implication to us here? By doing our duty, as long as we consider ourselves as the consciousness in this body, the witness of all our actions, we will not incur any what we call sin. We won't incur any papam, and we will not be bound by the results of our actions. So all our actions become free of any karma phalam, of the fruit of the action. This is the important thing that we have to take away the message. Although Krishna mentions killing, to us here, to a soldier, killing means doing his duty. To us, killing means performing our duties with the attitude that I am the consciousness. So as long as we surrender all our actions to the Lord and consider ourselves as an instrument in the hands of the Lord, there is no more karma phala. And there is a famous verse in chapter 8 verse 7 when the Lord told Arjuna, Mam anusmara yudhyacha. Anusmara yudhyacha. Yudhya means to fight. The Lord told Arjuna, you go ahead and fight, but your mind should be anusmara, should be fixed on me, meaning you are doing every action for the Lord. So the Lord said, Arjuna, at all times remember me and fight, here meaning do your duty. So here the Lord has explained to us the secret of right action. Now that brings us to the next verse, which is verse number 18. So here the Lord is going to explain about what we call the three, again, different types of knowledge and the three different types of action. So the Lord says here in verse 18, Jnanam, jnana meaning the knowledge that is required, that reveals the object. Okay, so this jnanam also includes the scriptural texts and the instruments we use for learning. So the Lord says jnanam, knowledge, neyam, the object, meaning what you seek to know from this knowledge. So one is knowledge. What is the object that you seek to know from the study of this knowledge? That is called neyam. So there is jnanam and there is neyam. And then the third is parijñāta, which is the subject, the knower. So in any knowledge, there are three factors. One is I am the one, the knower, who's studying this knowledge. Number two is the knowledge. And number three, what is the goal or the objective of this knowledge? Parijñāta, jnanam and neyam. Next, the Lord talks about, he says that this jnanam, neyam and parijñāta, trividham. There are three types of knowledge, there are three types of knower, and there are three types of goals to be achieved from this knowledge. Karma chodana, which are the causes or inducements to this action. So these three factors, the knower, the knowledge, and the goal, are the three inducements or causes of this action. These three are the what you call the factors that cause our action. That means what type of knowledge we have, what type of doer we are, what is the goal of our knowledge will be the motivator to our actions. Then the Lord says there are another three also. That is karanam, which is the instrument. So here instrument, karanam, refers to the external instrument. That means the hands, the feet, etc. And internal instruments, mind, intellect. So karanam refers to instruments. Karma refers to the object. What do you desire to attain from this action? So you're using these instruments to perform an action. What is it you hope to accomplish from this action? Karanam, instrument. Karma is the object to be attained. And karta is the nature of the doer. So who am I, the karta, the doer? How am I using the instruments of my body? And what is the objective I want to attain from this action? So that also the Lord says, Trivida, these three, they are not the cause, but he says, karma sangraha, they are the basis or the accessories for doing karma. So that's why you see this knowledge is very scientific. If we really go into it, there's so much beauty in this knowledge. Here the Lord is analyzing for us the cause and what is the equipment, the accessories needed for doing the action. One is the cause of the action, one is the equipment necessary for doing the action. So there are six factors now that the Lord has identified, and he will divide these six factors. He will select some of them and he will talk to us that all these factors can be further subdivided into sattvic, rajasic and tamasic varieties. So let us look now at verse number 19. Now, from the six components earlier identified, Sri Krishna now condenses it into three categories. One is jnanam, which is the instrument of knowledge or the action that reveals an object. So in this also you can add in neyam, that which is to be known or revealed. So jnanam will cover neyam. Second factor that Krishna will talk about is karma, action. So in this category we can also include karanam, the instrument of action. The third factor that Krishna will speak about is karta, the doer of the action, the agent. And in this category we can also add in the parijñāta, the knower. So what is to be known about these three aspects? Jnanam, karma, karta. The Lord says, gunaha, the knowledge of the three gunas, kya has been taught samkhyam, fully in detail. So the Lord says in the teachings of Kapila Muni, who propounded the Samkhya philosophy, and also teachings of other individuals in various scriptures, this philosophy of the gunas has been very, very much explained in detail. And Vedanta, which is the knowledge we are studying in the Bhagavad Gita, borrows some aspects from Samkhya philosophy. So the knowledge of the gunas has been explained in the scriptures written by Kapila Muni and also the Upanishads, and now the Lord is what we call expounding this knowledge further. So the Lord says these three, jnanam, karma, karta, knowledge, action, and the agent, prokshate are stated tridha to be of three kinds. So sattvic, that means jnanam is sattvic, rajasic, tamasic type. Karma is sattvic, rajasic, tamasic type. Karta is sattvic, rajasic, tamasic type. So we have 9 different combinations. And the Lord says guna vedata means according to the differences of the 3 gunas in each individual. So in person to person, the type of knowledge they have, the type of action they do, the type of person they are, all these are dependent on the guna. And the Lord says, Shrunu, hear carefully now, pay close attention, tani, about them. Why? Because yathavak, as they are in keeping with the scriptural teachings. So Krishna says, I am going to summarize what has been given in the scriptures regarding the 3 gunas in relation to these 3 topics about what we call jnanam, karma, and karta also. Now, so we have to understand the type of knowledge we have will influence the type of actions we do. And the type of person we are also influences the type of knowledge we are attracted to and the type of actions we do. So all these 3, jnanam, karta, and karma are all interrelated, and they are all dependent on the 3 types of gunas, which influences all this. In each individual is different. So when we come back in the next lesson, we will take up this discussion from verse number 20. Hari Om Tat Sat.